What is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new video. This is a series where I stalk the Korean server to find 7 new picks that are doing a lot better so far in 6.19. There are a lot of things being played right now, but these seem to be the biggest jumps from last patch to now. But also remember, we have this big giveaway right now for $200 of RP, some Steel Series stuff, quest bars, which is down below if you haven't entered already. The first one is actually Kindred, so she's been creeping up a little bit recently, but suddenly kind of jumped since the start of 6.19. She's picked in about 7% of games right now as well, still having a top 5 win rate, so actually is good, not just kind of some random fluke. When she used to be meta, Korea absolutely loved her, like had a real hard on for her. She was in almost every game, probably mostly because she's a real damage carry jungler who has some room to show your skill as well. Any excuse or kind of hint that she's going to be back is going to get them to jump on her straight away, but this time it's a little bit different. So Blood Razor and Runes is still going to be cool, but instead of stacking damage, they're actually getting more of a defensive side now. Well, kind of a mix of both. More Mortius, Frozen Mallet, and Black Cleaver are the 3 most popular items third over there at the moment. So it's like you have the damage, but also a little tanky or a little harder to deal with and kill. Now this is a little bit weird to me really, because she's come back big time, but nothing major has actually changed except the build being used really. Kindred is very good against burst champions with her ultimate, but I'm not sure we're actually in such a big burst meta that it naturally makes her really good. To be honest, the reason her win rate is actually so high is mostly because she wrecks Evelynn and anyone outside of the top tier or anyone who isn't a true carry jungler, I guess. At least Graves and Karthus are kind of rough matchups. Nidalee you get absolutely boned in, but against like Lee Sin and Evelynn and everyone else, she does well, and those are 2 very popular junglers right now. I'm going to throw up the runes, masteries, and build and stuff, but remember, for this video, this is actually not my opinion at all, okay? This is literally what Korea is using right now. Now, Corki is up next, again going from roughly a 50% win rate, which is pretty bad, to almost 55% so far this patch. So that is a massive jump. I made a video 2 days ago about a new build that everybody in Europe and North America is using right now with the Gunblade build, and actually while it is kind of in Korea, like they're still going with the crit side of things. The most popular build at the moment for them is actually Triforce, Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, and Rapid Fire Cannon. Now that is nothing like what we do over here really. The whole idea really is to stack cooldown reduction, crit, and AD on him and just try to burst people as fast as they can. It is kind of the same as we're used to over here though, like for the general game I guess, like good early and then kind of bad at 6 items late game. Because your damage is almost just half and half, like half AD, half magic, once they get armor and magic resist on the enemy team, you basically have to build a Void Staff and a Last Whisper to cope, and that's not really going to happen very often. It is the package though that is making him so much better over there. So roaming around constantly and snowballing the game more than anything. Your damage if you get ahead is insane, so that is definitely helping as well, but part of this has to be like the surprise factor. People are just not used to dealing with the constant pressure yet. Like it was the same with Talia, right? If you remember when she first exploded out, she'd like constantly surprise roam all the time, but after a few patches people got used to it. She was still strong after that, but her roams were not as effective, and I'm guessing that is going to be kind of the same thing with Corki. He is still a bugger to deal with though, and like the amount of damage you can output means you can carry super hard, and that is what Korea love. So next is Icarly, another full damage monster, and kind of seeing a trend here, right? Though honestly you can't be surprised, like these are Koreans, they love killing people. This one is for the top lane more than anything else. This is not really played a ton either, just to make that point. At the moment she has a 2nd highest win rate top lane so far this patch, but I expect that to kind of change the further we get in. I mean right now at the moment like Aatrox is actually in the top 5, and that's pretty nuts. Anyway, this is about as big of a jump as we're going to get in this video, from 28th overall last patch to 2nd so far now, and I honestly actually think Icarly is in a really good spot right now, and it makes sense that she's coming back a bit. The build stuff is part of the reason. Like Gunblade is so strong at the moment and perfect for her, like the 250 damage active, right? AD and AP, which works for her passive as well as damage wise, plus the healing which adds on to the spell vamp she gets from her passive. That all makes her very hard to kill while doing a lot of damage, and there's quite a lot of variation in her build. Well actually like 2nd is always Zhonya's, but after that it varies from like Void Staff, Guardian Angels, Rylai's, even Lichbane. The good thing with Icarly is your base damage is so high that you don't really need to build a pure damage to like kill people really. Zhonya's is a mix of damage and defense, so is Rylai's. Guardian Angel is just like pure defense and still enough to kill people quickly, which is kind of insane. The high win rate though is mostly coming from a select few matchups. So like Riven and Echo are 2 of the most popular lanes in Korea, and Icarly actually should win both of those. Plus like she has an okay win rate against Darius, which is really surprising. Like maybe you don't want to pick her every single game, but if a Riven or Echo or a similar champion is picked, then go nuts. Next up is one that I mentioned on and off. It's not a massive jump this time, but over the past few patches, Karthus has been getting better and better. But right now in this patch, his win rate is over 55% at higher ranks. Plus, he's still like top 5 or top 10 at lower ones. Now, it's actually really weird, but they seem to be using him a lot differently than we do over here. His win rate is actually best pre-35 minutes, even though he's a hyper carry mage, or supposed to be. They seem to use his ultimate for global pressure a lot more than we do, kind of like a gangplank if you think of it like that. Like when that's up, GP just waits for a gank and throws it down to help. That's basically what Karthus does. He gets his team ahead, gets a little extra gold himself, and then he gets his items a bit faster. Really, you're trying to get so fed so early that you can kill people without dying, really, even though that sounds really weird because that's what his passive is there for. Getting a Zhonya's or Rylai's makes you decently tanky and still do a ton of damage, so you go in, you do a ton, and they don't have quite the items yet to kill you, so you actually survive. It does make some sense, actually. His damage is pretty crazy early before people get defense, and his ultimate can definitely help a ton. The good thing is your team doesn't even really need to use it, like you're just adding damage onto a gank basically. For all of these champions, we look at matchups and talk a little bit about them. I don't think anybody else really does that. It's kind of cool to know who is favored in what matchup, or like what's leading them to have the good win rate. With Karthus though, out of like the 13 most popular champions in Korea mid lane right now, only 2 of them have positive win rates versus him, and that is Anivia and Malzahar. That is actually ridiculous. I've never seen that before. The LeBlanc matchup, by the way, is 62% of the time in Karthus' favor, and that is nuts. I think Karthus is going to be really solid like as a pocket pick for the rest of the season now. Use the early power he has, use your ultimate to effectively roam and help other lanes, and you'll be set. Now, Blitzcrank is one that is always popular in Korea, but since 619 he's actually doing a bit better, and it's a weird one because he hasn't really jumped up in a win rate or anything like that. It is a little bit better, but it's more actually just the others getting worse. It's kind of bumping him up naturally, I guess. For ages, like, Korea has been dominated by these passive supports like Sona, Soraka, and Janna, but now we're really seeing the aggressive ones come back. Blitz is basically like the Korean support, though he's always played it a ton because people think you can really carry on him, unlike a lot of others that rely on their team a bit more. He's also seen as the one you pick if you want to get frisky in the lane phase. Like, his win rate is also best there, which makes sense. Like, you get ahead, you keep on hooking over and over until you win the game, basically, and that's not too hard to do either. One thing I actually have noticed though is Blitzcrank getting better in every single elo at the moment, higher and especially lower ranks. In bronze, he is actually the best support in 619 at the moment over there. On one side, you'd assume people will be worse at hitting their hook, but I guess the other side is they're worse at dodging them, so it kind of balances out. He's got pretty even win rates actually against most supports except Thresh and Bard, where he's heavily favored, but a lot of this comes down to how the lane goes. If you get ahead on Blitz, right, it's really easy because any hook is a good hook, but if you get behind them, 1, it's harder to create opportunities to hook anyway, and 2, not every one of those hooks is going to be a good thing. As well, by the way, after the Soraka nerfs this patch, like, he is definitely a very good counter to her and can massively shut her down, which is great. Now, the next one is definitely more random though, so Swain top has suddenly started to be played more and jump up again from like the 35th best win rate to the 7th one so far at 619. I'm just going to say this straight away, I think Swain is like an off tank, okay? To me, he's kind of like Gnar, like he does a lot of damage, he's a threat, but his job is to do that while absorbing a lot of damage. The tools this season to do it are better, I think, but it's kind of a shame the tools to cut healing are better as well, so kind of like buffs him and screws him at the same time. Zhonya's Visage, Rylai's Abyssal are all really good items at the moment. They give him a huge amount of like value for the gold they cost, and all of them work really well on him. Some people actually go proto belt on him in Korea, which is pretty weird but kind of funny actually. Like, imagine a proto belt Swain flying at you. Now, we maxed out Q here as well, by the way. Ever since he got buffed a while ago, it's a lot better, but the main reason he's actually back in a good win rate is because he can dumpster immobile top laners. So Riven, Irelia, and Yasuo, as you probably guessed, do not fall into that category, and they will get on top of you too easily and take a dump on you. Anything like Darius or Echo, Malphite, Fiora, like, you can kite them and poke them from distance, and it's such an easy lane phase. He actually still does well against ranged champions as well, but it isn't kind of the norm for a bully like that. Like, Temu, Kennen still gets screwed by Swain. That is kind of the two parts to him, really. Like, in lane you poke and you just don't die, you set up ganks well with your snare and just win over time, making it really hard to play against. In teamfights, you do damage, right? You heal a lot and you survive for ages. With Zhonya's, it's even harder to kill you. You can slow people with Rylai's. As far as like damage off tanks actually go, you're pretty decent in my opinion. Like, kind of picked up where Vlad left off after his nerf. He is a lot like Icarly though. You don't want to pick this in every single game. If they have loads of mobility or can outrange you, then it'll probably be a very bad game. But if not, then you should be good. Now the final one is a little bit more common, I think, but Jax has made an appearance in the top 5 win rates for top lane at the moment, and even at lower ranks, he is doing really well as well. The builds are the most interesting thing for me, at least, because they've changed a lot this patch, and we're seeing like Bruiser Jax start to come back now rather than full damage. Gunblade is way more popular on him now, sometimes even picking it up before a Triforce. Either way, those two are normally the first 2 items, and then it goes into things like Sterix, Randuin's, maybe even Guardian Angel. The idea really is to get all of this damage and healing with the 2 offensive items, and then try to survive for as long as possible while still attacking and doing damage. Sterix actually buffs the Triforce damage, by the way, because the Sheen goes off base AD, which is what Sterix increase. It also gives you that big shield. Randuin's is health, armor, and slows their attack speed so you can win most duels. Also slows them down if you try and chase them. We've been seeing a lot more of him recently, and these 3 items just seem to make his mid game insanely good. It actually seems like when you're at like 3 or 4 items, you're going to be the strongest you'll be in that game. Normally we think of like a 6 item Jax as a hyper carry, but Triforce Gunblade with Sterix and Randuin's is basically unkillable, tanky with insane damage, and the good thing is that you can easily dive, split push, and team fight. It's much more of a well-rounded build than anything we've seen before, and I expect this to kind of leak into our games over here pretty soon. As a quick side note before we end, like Jungle Jax is doing pretty decently as well. Not as good as top by far, but I think the champion in general is a lot stronger than most people realize after all these meta tops got nerfed. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of these picks. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll leave you with the robots.